everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of This Fat Girl Life. I am your host, Kimberly, and as always, I am coming to you from gorgeous Colorado Springs, where it's a little cold tonight. It's snowing outside, so we are staying warm and having comfort food. But let's get on to tonight's topic. I am being joined tonight by Krystal Holm, who is an amazing woman. I've had her on some of my other shows, and I love being able to have, repeat guests that I've built that relationship with. We are going to talk about unpacking toxic messages, which is so important. But before we get into that, you guys, if you want to support what I'm doing, if you want to see me continue to do what I'm doing, then please consider going over to buymeacoffee.com/this fat girl life. Y'all know I live on coffee. It keeps me out of jail, it keeps me sane. Coffee is life. By going over there and becoming a member, it's $5 a month, cheaper than what you get Starbucks for. And not only do you find out all the goodies first, because that's where I post them first, you also, as my thank you gift, get my guided journals free of charge. That is my gift to you for supporting what I do. So again, that's buymeacoffee.com/this fat girl life. Hey, Krystal, how are you?
I am great, Kimberly. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking. So,
Good.
I mean, I already know a little bit about you, but for anybody who is watching or hearing this that doesn't follow any of my other stuff, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm a feng shui designer and a clutter expert, and I help soul-driven entrepreneurs to declutter and design a workspace that really empowers them to create the life and business that they want.
And that kind of goes along with what we're talking about tonight because tonight is more decluttering the mind and the soul and what we're taking internally. So I love that that's what you do because it works.
It
But
does.
talking about
You locked up, Kimberly. I don't. Are you there?
just give me a quick moment. Krystal, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. There you are.
We're having technical difficulties. I've had it off and on all day.
Sorry.
Colorado weather.
Yes, I'm familiar.
But let's talk about those toxic messages because we get them from so many different sources.
Yes, yes, we do.
I commented on the notes, just a few of the places. We could get these messages from our family, from our friends, from our coworkers, social media, television, print media. I mean, they come from everywhere.
Yeah. And at some point, by the time we're relatively young, we've already picked them up and we get them from ourselves more than anywhere else, right? Because it's just already in the brain and it's just part of like the hardwiring that just is repeated in your head all day, every day.
Exactly. I've heard it said a lot of different times and a lot of different ways. But if you had a friend talk to you the way that you talk to yourself, would you still be friends with that person?
Right, right. And I mean, I've had some pretty toxic friends, but boy, none of them that talked to me the way I talked to myself for years.
Hmm.
And
And
that
it
was
takes a
just based
lot to
on,
get past.
yeah, it did. For me, it took over a decade of healing, of working through that. As you know, I grew up in a very abusive household and, from a very young age, really just had so much just put on me about how worthless I was, and what an obligation I was, and just how much of a burden, and um how I needed to just be silent, right, in order to be safe.
Hmm. And I went through the same. I was sexually abused as a child by my stepfather, and that totally messed with me. I didn't really understand what healing was at the age of 8. Went through high school, thought I was good. I didn't need therapy. I didn't need any of that. I could fix myself. Even into my younger adult years, I thought I could fix myself and never really saw the damage that that year of my life did and what I continued to do,
Yeah,
because I continued that message of love is supposed to hurt me, that I'm not worth anything more than that. Regardless of what anybody else said, I didn't pick it up. It didn't stick. It was kind of that I'm rubber, you're glue, what you're saying is going to bounce off. It's not going to stick with me. Because that one message, that one person
right.
had changed it all.
Yep, and I have, yeah, I'm familiar with that. I had something similar when um when I was 8, my parents got divorced, and my mom started dating a pedophile. And I even told her how abusive he was before she married him, and gave her an ultimatum that it was him or me. And she still chose to marry him. And she covered it up, and hid all the evidence, and took me to a therapist and told him the problem was that I was a liar. And so anytime I tried to tell him about my abuse, it was just shut down with stop lying, right? So I, I I'm very familiar with how that goes, and how long, like, I carried mine well into my even into my 30s, um
Hmm.
before I was, I mean, and I was on my healing journey. It was just before I really started to see, like, results, or feel like I was seeing results from it. I was well into my 30s before um, I was starting to change that pattern of abusive messages from partners and friends, and you know even myself.
And I think a lot of times, some of these messages that we get, the person who's sending those half the time doesn't even realize they're doing it because, again, it's just so programmed. It's considered normal to say some of those things. I've heard it all my life, different fatphobic comments that people never, really took the time to think about what are my words doing.
Right, right. A lot of it is, I wholeheartedly agree. Some of it, it depends on the person. Some of it is very intentional. We've
Yeah.
come into this so much narcissism and hate and just evil walking the planet, to be honest, that's just out there inflicting pain on other people. um in some cases, in a lot of cases, it's a case of hurt people hurting people. um
Hmm.
and then there's also those abusive people that they enjoy it, right? They enjoy inflicting pain, and they enjoy perpetuating that, and figuring out the difference between who's who is sort of like
That's a game in and of itself.
right.
That is its own game of Russian roulette. That's the only way I can describe it.
Well, I think the hurt people are at least want to heal. The abusive people have no interest in healing because they don't see anything wrong with their actions, right? It's enjoyable to them. It's fun. It's a
Yeah.
pastime. My mom is like that. Uh, she she takes pleasure in other people's pain, like, as long as it can help her look like the hero.
Well, let's talk about unpacking them. because
Yeah.
it is not always easy to see or identify what message is beneficial to you and what is harmful.
Hmm.
And the way that me personally, and I know I'm not going to say her name right, Marie Kondo,
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
is that how I say her name?
I think so.
Do you
Yeah, as
know?
far as I know. Yeah.
But her basic theory, as far as cleaning things out and decluttering, is if it does not bring you joy, get rid of it.
Right.
And that is how I have started looking at different things in my life as far as messages that come in, be it
Hmm.
social media or whatever, is if this does not do me a service, I don't want it.
Right. But you still have to dig underneath it, right? Because sometimes there's stuff that is sitting underneath of the thing that's part of the problem that I see with um only looking at the things that bring joy, because then we're not actually facing the things that are causing the pain, right? And it tends to lead us towards this masking, right? This fake it till you make it, and spiritual bypassing of actual healing. So I think we have to look at the other side. It's one of the things I say often is um that that's the reason that her method doesn't work, is because when you're only focusing on the things that spark joy and you're not looking at the other stuff, you have no idea, like you're blind to where your pain is really coming from, and you're just sort of covering it up, like you're doing the fake it till you make it thing instead of really doing the unpacking and the facing it to heal and to move past that.
And that's kind of why I changed the wording on it as if it doesn't do me a service. Because
Yes.
some services are not pleasant. Some of it you have to do the work, you have to do the deed, but you have to look at, when you hear something, you hear a message, you see a message, you have to determine, is this something worth pursuing? Is this something that's going to benefit me? Is this something that is going to help me? If it's not going to help you, if it's not going to benefit you, if all it's going to do is encourage you to tear yourself down,
Hmm.
put it to the side. If it's going to help you on your healing journey, if it's going to help you to become a better person, if it's going to help you to love yourself, then yes, you need to keep that.
Right.
And then you have to go into the unprogramming because all of those previous messages have been programmed in.
Yes.
And unprogramming sucks.
it
It's hard.
it's hard, yes. um I actually have kind of gotten to the point where it's um I found the joy in that, right? Right, you have to find the joy in the unpacking, right? In the where it feels good to to poke at it and to prod it and to break it open so that it can heal again.
And I,
um
I think we all get to that point.
mhm.
But when you first start, yeah, no. I did not realize when I first started going through my healing process how many tears I really had in my body.
Oh,
I
I
would have
hear
thought
you.
I was going to be dehydrated by the end of it.
Right. I have that. I literally was just having that conversation with myself within the last week. Like, how many tears do I have left? Like, how much crying do I
Right?
still have? Just around whatever it might be, like just whatever the healing is. And it's just like, wow, how long will this go before, you know, my body is done because there's stuff that's, it's like stuff packed on top of stuff. Like, so then it's like, oh, I got this thing, but what is it that's underneath it that's making this happen? You know what I mean? Like, it's just it becomes almost a fun game of what do I get to unpack today and what do I get to heal from, and then where is that going to take me tomorrow, like in my life, not just in the healing journey, but what is this going to open up for me? Like, that's the part where you find joy. But first you have to face the clutter, right? And the decluttering, right? I call it decluttering your mindset, because it is, your physical clutter is a reflection of your mental and emotional clutter. So, yeah.
The whole process reminds me of the movie Shrek. When Shrek says that ogres are like onions.
Yeah.
Think of how many layers an onion has.
Mm-hmm.
You peel off one, you think you're done. Nope, you got 20 more.
Yep.
But that's like the closest analogy I can think of, because again, you're going to have those tears that the pain brings on, and it's just like peeling back another layer of the onion. It's fresh, it's going to cry, you're going to cry, but then you get to move past it. And when you're going past it, I think one of the hardest parts of going past it, for me at least, is letting it go. Finding my inner Elsa and letting it go.
It's hard for a lot of people. It's really because there is 5 steps to that process. And most people go straight to step 5 and skip steps 1 through 4. If they manage to do step 1, then they skip, to 5. Every now and again, I'll talk to people that do step 1 and step 2 and then skip to 5, but they don't, right? They skip over the biggest, most important parts, so that you can actually let it go and release it. And so that's the other part of why I say that, the only focusing on the one side doesn't work. You have to focus on the other side, because that's where the healing and the transformation really is.
Well, and I think once we finally have hit that point, we've identified those messages, we've gone through the healing, we're deprogramming ourselves. Just like anything else, you want to refill, you want to top off. And I love that. That's like my favorite part, is finding, okay, what is going to benefit, and being able to identify those things that are going to help me and that are going to benefit me, and just finding all the good stuff and putting that stuff in me, putting it on my social feed. Yesterday I found like all these wonderful affirmations, and I do needlecraft, I do cross stitch. I was like, ooh, I'm resetting at my office. I can cross stitch all these affirmations to where my office is just surrounded by them.
Yeah.
And I love that thought of what a wonderful way to where every direction that I look, I'm going to see something that benefits me.
Right.
As opposed to the negative.
Yes.
And I think finding something like that is important for every person. Finding a way to feed yourself.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I teach
feeding
that
your
too.
emotions is just like anything else.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a firm believer in that. That's literally why I teach that, and why I do the work that I do, because I think that is the absolute most important thing, is what is being reflected to us in our surroundings all day, every day, makes that big of a difference in who we are and who we are becoming. That, I mean, that's even what I say. Like, we're designing for who you're becoming. Like, when I work with clients, that's how we approach the work, is to design for who you're becoming, so that we are approaching it with this making it a transformational space.
And the reason that is so important is because if we do what's going to help us just at this level and we're not thinking about 5 levels ahead,
Mm-hmm.
then we stay at this
Exactly.
level. And there is no growth. There is no development, so to
Right.
speak.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
We need to think about, if you're a parent especially, this will click of when you teach your child something, you don't teach them how a 1 year old would, if they're 5, you don't teach them how a 1 year old's going to do it. You're going to teach them how somebody a little bit older is going to do it so that
Mhm.
those skills develop.
Right.
And it's just as important to do that with ourselves.
Yes.
Not
And be
easy all the
just as
time.
gentle. Right. And be just as gentle as you would with a 2 year old or a 3 year old. Because that is how you learn, by practicing and by making mistakes and, by just doing it over and over and over again until it becomes natural.
Well, and I think one of the other important things, and again, this is, my perspective, something that I've noticed within myself of that positive reinforcement. There's a
Hmm.
woman that I follow on TikTok, and for the life of me, I cannot think of what her handle is because my brain, COVID brain, is like pregnancy brain. You lose what you're saying. But every day she goes on there and dances.
Hmm.
There is no other message. It's the positivity dance train.
Cool.
Flight of Minions, that's her name. Flight of Minions. But all it is a little 30-second video of dancing. She doesn't
Cool.
worry about if it's on trend. She's just taking that 30 seconds to put positivity into the world.
Right.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
Yes.
But that 30 seconds brings me joy every day because
And that
I've made sure
matters.
to follow her for that.
Yes. Right. I do the same. I do the same with my social media, and make sure that what I'm taking in, right? Like they say, the you become just like the 5 people that you surround yourself by. I think that is true of not just the people. It's the environment that you surround yourself with, right? The social media that you take in, the regular media that you take in, all of the
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Even looking around your room, you're taking that message in too. And that is what you're being the message in your space is really what you're being bombarded with 24/7, right? Like that message is just getting in there. So yeah, making sure that it's the message that you want on repeat, and not what you don't. So that's super super important, because when it's what you don't want and it's just hidden all around you and you can't help but take it in because you don't even know, like it's at a like subconscious level,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then it just perpetuates that um that cycle, right? And it just keeps it all those toxic messages just buried down in there. That's why it's so important to do that work, to really declutter your mindset, declutter your physical, your mental, and your emotional stuff, um, so that you can truly let go and heal.
Completely agree. Well, you guys, that is it for tonight. I will be back next week. Krystal, I do want to thank you so much for having this conversation. I think it was really important, and there were definitely some key moments within it. So, anybody who's watching, I would love to know what some of your key takeaways were. Definitely leave it in the comments, send me a message. Let me know what you got out of this conversation because I know there's definitely some stuff that I got out of it that didn't really think about as well. And that's what I love about these conversations. Krystal, I do have one final question for you. And I ask questions like this of every guest that comes on my show.
Hmm.
What's something that you love about yourself?
Um, I love that I'm honest. Sometimes brutally honest, but like uncomfortably honest. Let's say that. Sometimes I'm uncomfortably honest, but I think it's one of my best qualities.
I love that.
I had to earn those stripes the hard way. So yeah, I feel like that's one of my best qualities. And you don't grow without being uncomfortable. So
That is true.
um I
Growing pains can hurt. They don't call them growing
yes.
pains for nothing.
Right. But directness is a sign of love. And so um, I don't play those games and beat around the bush, and I'm just honest. And I like that about myself. I didn't always, but I do now. That's part of my healing process.
Well, I do want to thank you again for being here and for speaking with me. You
Absolutely.
guys, I hope you have an amazing, amazing week. Be well, be healthy, be safe, and know that you are loved. Bye, guys.
Bye.